Today is January 9th, 2024, and in episode 117, we'll talk about workflow in technology. Hello and welcome to ELT Cast, an educational podcast making English language teaching and learning more transparent. My name is Benjamin Stewart at benjaminlstewart.net. Before we get into today's topic, if you have any thoughts, insights, or would like to share any of your experiences, feel free to reach out to me at my Twitter X handle at BNLEEZ. So today I want to talk about flow and technology, and I've been thinking a lot recently and changing a lot of my workflow, getting geared up for the next semester, the spring semester of 2024. The semester begins the end of January 29th. So I wanted to have everything put in place in terms of the key technologies that I'll be using, working with students over the course of the next 4 months or so. And today I want to talk primarily about 2 key technologies that I'm going to be using. The first being Microsoft Teams, and the second being Obsidian. So I'm going to talk first here about Microsoft Teams. And I've been using Microsoft Teams for some time now, primarily as a way to communicate or keep in contact with students, primarily through the chat feature. So if you're familiar with Microsoft Teams, the chat feature is a good way to keep track of prior conversations you've had, as it kind of groups and keeps that history. So I find it very useful in being more accessible to students throughout the semester. So I'll continue using Microsoft Teams. I know some teachers like to use a lot the WhatsApp app, but honestly, I'm in Microsoft Teams more than I'm in WhatsApp. So I always tell students that they can always get a more or a quicker response if they contact me via chat. Also, this semester I'm going to be using Microsoft Teams as an LMS, as a learning management system. So I'm not sure exactly when they updated Microsoft Teams to include modules for assignments, classwork. They have a class notebook now that is integrated when you create a new Teams assignments. You can keep track of grades. They also have a reflect section, an insight section that I'm curious about. We'll see this semester how that works, if I'll be using that or not. And then below now they have a separate section for the channels. And the channels is primarily what I've used in the past in terms of having a section for posts, having a section for files. And in this case, I'm going to include a website, which I'll talk about here in a few minutes, that will also be accessible through Microsoft Teams. But I've used Microsoft Teams in the past a lot, primarily in the channel section, the posts and the files. Sharing files, I like to do that within Microsoft Teams because, especially if they're writing an essay, for example, I can have all of the documents in one central space where I can go in, leave comments, they can go in and work, and so on. So I'm curious this semester how this will work out, but primarily Microsoft Teams. This is where we'll manage grades, assignments. All of the course content, in fact, will be accessible through Microsoft Teams. Now, one thing worth mentioning, and I'll talk about my website and Obsidian here in a minute, but under the classwork section, this is where I'm going to include links to key pages in my website where they can access the course content. Right now, it's a little slow opening up here, but under coursework or classwork, this is where the learning modules will occur. And of course, any assignments that they are to complete will have a separate section here where they can access those. So for some reason, I'm not able to open up classwork, but this is where the learning modules will reside. This is where students can access week to week or module by module the different course content. The way I usually work is I'll create lessons, and everything that we talk about and work I'll include in an online space. And again, I'll show you that here in a minute. But for some reason, I'll come back to Microsoft Teams. It's not allowing me to open up Microsoft Teams. Okay, there's the notebook. Let's try one more time. Try another class here, Writing 2. This is another class I'll be teaching this semester in addition to thesis seminar. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. So we'll try that a little bit later. But this is where the learning modules appear. And then you have the assignments. Go back to thesis seminar. Under assignments and grades, students can access their grades here. So we're going to try this. We've used Moodle in the past, but this semester we're going to try Microsoft Teams. And in an effort to make it a little bit more accessible, maybe make it easier for students to access this information throughout the semester. All right, so let's go now into Obsidian. Obsidian now is going to also be the key space or the key technology I'll be using in addition to Microsoft Teams. Here I have an example of what it looks like at my end when I'm working in Obsidian. Now I'm using Obsidian Sync. Those of you who are familiar with Obsidian, I'm using Obsidian Sync, and I'm also using Obsidian Publish. I have my home page. This is what it looks like at my end when I'm working in Microsoft Teams. And in a later video, I'll talk more in detail about the methodology that I'm using in setting up my Obsidian, primarily using the para method and the Zettelkasten method. But I'll talk more about that in a subsequent video. But here on the left-hand side, you can see basically how I'm organizing the notes within Obsidian. And this home page is under a published folder. And everything under this published folder is getting published to my website, which looks like this. Okay, so this is the home page here. So if we toggle back, this is what it looks like in Obsidian, and this is the same page here in my website as a published document, as a published space. And the idea here is to try to share as much information as I can. Things that I'm working on in Obsidian, I push out to the published folder so that they can access and I can provide that information to my students. Of course, since this is a public space, this is being pushed out publicly, of course. But the idea here is that students also can, if they choose, they can access the information that they're working on in class. In another video, I'll talk more specifically. In fact, I want to create a separate video that I will later insert into this homepage that gives a general overview how to navigate around the website. I won't go into detail at this point, but this is another key technology I'll be using in my workflow for this next semester, using a website connected to Obsidian. And again, just as I'm always thinking about different things that I'm going to be sharing with my students or maybe publishing as a separate article, everything that I'm working on stays in Obsidian. And most of that information will begin in the Slipbox folder. And this is just a private folder where I'm working essentially. And then when I create different documents and I think it's worth publishing, then I'll push it out or move it to the published folder. So more or less, that's my workflow here without getting into detail here in Obsidian. I'm experimenting also with databases, projects, which are plugins within Obsidian, and haven't quite decided on the route that I'll take for those two aspects of Obsidian. But again, this will be worth another video, I think, going into the details of how I'm using Obsidian. But Obsidian, this is a key technology that I'm going to be using in addition to Microsoft Teams that I've already mentioned. One last piece of technology that I'll be using, and if you go to, there's actually two more technologies that relate to a podcast that I'm using. And they're really integrated into the website that I have here. And you can see ELT Cast on Spotify, which I use Spotify for podcasters. And I'm also creating a newsletter for the ELT podcast where all of the show notes reside. And that's also accessible through the website. It's called ELT Cast Newsletter. And the Substack is another technology that I'll be using. But this is more of a extended. It's more of just a way to distribute information that primarily will begin in Obsidian and also to a degree in Microsoft Teams as it relates to students who are enrolled in classes that I teach. If I didn't mention it already, I'm going to be teaching the spring 2024 semester. I'll be teaching Thesis Seminar, which is a 15-hour-a-week class, 16 weeks, where English language teacher trainers will be creating a research project. So they'll be writing a literature review, they'll be collecting data and presenting the results throughout the thesis seminar. I'll also be teaching a Writing 1 course, which is for A1 level English language learners to practice their writing skill, primarily their academic writing skills. And we'll be talking about APA and writing conventions, organization, forming arguments, and so on. So both of my classes I'm going to be teaching this next semester, I'll be using, again, primarily Microsoft Teams as an LMS, learning management system, and Obsidian, pushing out course content or things that I'm working on in Obsidian, pushing it out to my website, and also creating periodic podcast episodes that are also embedded within this website. And finally, the ELT Cast newsletter, which will be created in Substack. So I think I'll stop there. If you have any thoughts or want to share your workflows, I'm always interested in how other educators are creating their own workflow, using their own set of technologies to work more effectively, more efficiently. I'm always interested in how others are doing that, so feel free to reach out to me at my Twitter handle at BNLEEZ. You've been listening to ELT Cast, an educational podcast making English language teaching and learning more transparent. Thanks for listening.